The first principle of intuitive eating is to reject the diet mentality. But what does this actually mean? Also, what are some practical ways that we can make a shift in our way of thinking about health and wellness, where we move away from a focus on body size and shape to one that really considers the whole person and all of the various facets of our health? I'm Jeff Ash, certified nutritionist, personal trainer, and intuitive eating coach, and you're listening to the Men's Intuition Podcast. I recently became a Be Real ambassador. What is Be Real? Well, it's a nonprofit organization whose mission is to spread body confidence, especially in kids and adolescents, across the entire country. Now, you'll be hearing more about this fantastic organization in an upcoming episode when I talk with Be Real's executive director, but certainly don't wait for that episode if the idea of body confidence is something that kind of piques your interest. You can definitely learn more about Be Real at BeRealUSA.org. Now, if you're a teacher or a school administrator, or maybe you have friends or family who are, maybe you're a PE coach or a sports coach, children's ministry worker or leader, or a parent who's involved in some way with your children's school, maybe with the PTO, Be Real has some excellent resources available to help kids under your influence to develop this body confidence. In particular, as an ambassador, one of my roles is to provide training to others in this area. Now, that's pretty cool, right? Well, we do have some amazing resources, and I'd love to talk to you more about how I could be, how it could be used in your unique context. So if what I'm talking about today sounds like something you'd like to maybe bring to your organization or something like that, don't hesitate to reach out to me at hopedrivesme.com. You can find a link right on my homepage to get more info. Now, anyway, enough with that part of the intro. So one of the parts of the training involves 3 shifts away from diet culture. Now, if you've spent any time at all listening to my content and other non-diet content, you've definitely heard this term diet culture, right? Now, as a refresher, here's how the Butterfly Foundation, which is an Australian-based organization that provides support for eating disorders and body image issues, this is how they describe it. They say diet culture refers to a set of ever-changing myths about food and bodies, promoting the idea that one's body weight automatically equals health, and that foods can be simplistically categorized as good and bad. It also comprises a moral hierarchy of bodies that preferences the thin ideal while masking a fear of fat. So there's so much more to it than that, but I think that's a great quick summary of the concept. Ultimately, it's this focus on size and shape with regard to health as well as appearance that's so problematic in adults, but especially in young people whose minds are really still very much developing. Now, this is why it's so important that we help our young people to develop body confidence as early as possible. And the first step in that is really to shift our thinking away from diet culture and this fixation on size and shape. All right, so the 3 cultural shifts are what we're going to be talking about for the remainder of this episode here. The first one is the body as an ornament. We want to shift away from that thinking to the body as an instrument for our own use. We want to move away from focusing on the body as an ornament or something to be appreciated and admired for, how well it aligns with society's ideals about appearance. Instead, we work to make a shift in how we think about our bodies and also the bodies of others. With this shift, we begin to truly see the body as an instrument. As an instrument, there are 2 main categories where we can kind of exercise this mindset. One is in our own lives, and the other is in acts of service toward others in our world. In our own lives, we start to explore and identify what our bodies can do for us. This is really applicable to those with and without significant disabilities. Maybe, you're able to walk and run and jump and participate in activities where those things are kind of required or at least very helpful. On the other hand, you may not be able to do any of those things, but your body has many things that it can do for you. And so in many cases, various skills and abilities can be developed or strengthened apart from our body's size, shape, or appearance. And in some cases, it can't, but there are other skills and abilities that can be developed and strengthened and shared with the rest of the world. So as servants of our fellow humans, we exercise this mindset shift in ways where we kind of gravitate toward those who could benefit from what we have to offer, whether that be financially, intellectually, emotionally, socially, spiritually, all those different areas. We don't focus our attention on those who necessarily meet a certain appearance standard that society deems to be ideal. We don't just hang out with the cool kids, put that in quotes. We treat everyone with respect and dignity and grace. We seek out those who are hurting, rejected, maybe disenfranchised, and could really use help from us in ways that we may be uniquely equipped to provide. And, when we shift the focus away from the body as an ornament to the body as an instrument, it really impacts not only our own body image, but it may help to strengthen the body image of others as well. So I hope that resonates with you. Now, the second shift is shifting away from body measurements to healthy self-care behaviors. So let's move away from a focus on body measurements as a reflection of health and beauty. A better place to focus our attention is in identifying and practicing healthy self-care behaviors. Measurements are deceptive, and they tend to perpetuate kind of this comparison game. It's a carrot on a stick in a lot of ways. Our eyes are fixed on the carrot that continues to move every time we try to get to it. We say to ourselves, if I could just get bigger arms or bigger calves or chest or get rid of this belly or drop, X number of pounds, then I'll feel better about my body. But even if that does happen, even if we do hit those goals that we've kind of set, the satisfaction it's usually short-lived as we find another flaw or set of flaws that really need to be addressed in order to feel good in our skin. So we're constantly chasing after this feeling, and it's very elusive in so many cases. When we instead focus on health promoting self-care behaviors, we really drop that carrot on the stick and turn our attention to the process. So we find joy in the journey. We stop with the mentality that we failed, when in reality what we're chasing never really aligned with who we are actually becoming as a person. These self-care behaviors aren't necessarily a nap in a hammock or a massage or something like that. It could be that, but it could also be seeing a therapist to start to deal with a past trauma. It could be hiring a housekeeper to come in twice a month to take care of some of the things around the house, take some of the load off of you and your spouse. Maybe finding some new recipes to make a couple of times a week to kind of make meals maybe a little more interesting. And it can even be a crazy intense training session at the gym, if that's something that brings you joy and makes you feel good. As a personal example, I just this past week had a crazy intense session at my Ninja gym, and I left there quite exhausted, but I felt fantastic. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed being pushed and challenged and being a part of the group in that environment, and it was just a lot of fun. And so if you like that, if you thrive on that kind of thing, that's awesome. If you don't, if that's not your jam, then by no means should you feel like you need to do that. But it's about the process, not the results. It's about nurturing every facet of our health. And that means physical, emotional, psychological, social, spiritual, intellectual, all these different facets of our health that contribute to our overall health and well-being. It's caring for the entire self and not using, some arbitrary metric to measure the value of your body. So the third principle, or the third shift, I should say, is instead of judging people by their appearance, we want to recognize people come in all shapes and sizes. There's another important shift away from diet culture. And instead of judging people by their appearance, let's genuinely recognize and accept the fact that people come in all shapes and sizes. There's no ideal size, shape, level of muscularity, or amount and distribution of body fat. And that is true even for just general health. So much of what fitness, health, and wellness culture promotes as ideal or even achievable is really influenced to a large degree by genetics. So take a look at NFL football players, right? American football players. Those big linemen won't ever be a compact, nimble running back. The gazelle-like wide receiver is never going to be built like a lineman. And yet they're all the best of the best, elite athletes, and they're all in their prime physical condition. And, here's the thing. We don't want them all to be the same because they all have a different role to play on the team. While not a perfect parallel, I hope you get my point. Even us average Joes still have so much variation in the form and function of our bodies. And this is true for muscular development and for body fat amount, as well as the distribution of that body fat and muscularity, around the body. Acknowledging this truth enables us to really more readily accept and appreciate our own body and the bodies of others. And then it helps us develop our own body confidence and support then the development and body confidence in our fellow human beings. So it really is all about compassion and not comparison. So what do you think? Well, I think these are a great starting point. These shifts can really help establish a foundation that we can then build on as we kind of address our own unique challenges and circumstances. Body confidence can lead to a strong relationship with food, and a strong relationship with food can help support body confidence. We really can't separate out these two areas of health, which is why it's so important to work to push aside this diet culture that we talk about so often in favor of kind of a more holistic approach to health that takes into account, again, those other facets of health that are beyond just physical. So that emotional and psychological and social health as well. As always, if I can be of any help, or if you have any comments about what you've heard today, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so yet, if you enjoy this podcast, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a rating and a review of the podcast. I'd love to hear what you think. And that also helps other people to be able to find podcasts more easily as well. So until next time, remember that how we eat is almost always much more important and impactful than the specifics of what we eat.